Looking for insight, inspiration, and community? Tune in to Behind the Camouflage, the podcast made for Marine Corps spouses by Marine Corps spouses. We cover everything from navigating military life to finding joy in the journey. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts and stay connected with those who understand.
Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. This is episode 198. This week, we welcome Brian O'Hare to the show. Using the term welcome to the show is a bit of a misnomer for what is actually happening in this episode. It's more accurate to say that Brian welcomed us into his brain. And what a ride. This was one of the most fun episodes we've done, as Brian is one of the most interesting people we've had the pleasure of speaking with. Trying to summarize the episode is an effort in futility, but the intent of bringing him on was to talk about his book Surrender and to get the story of his journey from Naval Academy midshipman to Marine to Hollywood Renaissance man. What ended up happening was something that was that, but also something so much more than we expected, such as stories of him drinking with John Waters in Baltimore as a second lieutenant and ending up playing a convict in the movie Crybaby. Please enjoy this wild ride with Brian O'Hare. We sure did. Here is episode 198. Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners, thank you for joining us and for your continued support. Much to everyone's chagrin, I am still Vic, and I'm here with Nancy.
Hey Vic, how you doing?
Awesome. Thanks for asking. But we're really excited to be welcoming Brian O'Hare to the show. Brian is, I don't even think it would be fair to necessarily characterize or sort of categorize you, because you really have such an unbelievable like your CV is pages off your website. Like you have to hit multiple arrows to sort of get there. But the thing I want to talk to you about is you're the author of the book Surrender, which we're going to dabble into. But you're an Academy guy, you're a documentarian, producer, actor, director, writer,
Renaissance man.
Yeah, truly. And thank you so much for being here.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. And I have to say, I would be lying, but to have the Marine Corps Association bestow this attention upon me makes me feel very validated.
Nice. Well, I'm glad that you get that feeling. We really are very excited to have you here, and I'm so glad we were able to make this work.
Yeah,
because you're here. We're going to sort of Tarantino this interview a little bit, but I'll go to the end first. So you're here because you guys are wrapping on a project you're working on right now, right? Because it goes Saturday, right?
Yeah, well,
I think it's the culminating event.
Well, the project that you're talking about, it's called Cannon Shot, and it is a documentary about the world's largest croquet match. And I have to say, humbly that I am, or maybe not so humbly, that I am the world's foremost independent croquet documentary former Marine in the world.
Yes. Talk about a niche within a niche.
Yeah, exactly. But the croquet match is the match, the Annapolis Cup between the U.S. Naval Academy and their across-the-street neighbors, St. John's College. And when I say that they're across the street from each other, they are across the street from each other. And what's so interesting about their relationship is that there's no interaction between the schools 364 days out of the year.
That is
epic.
So crazy.
Which is insane.
Is that why the walls are so high there around the academy so that you can't?
No, it's just you would think that two groups of 18 to 22-year-olds basically looking for the same kind of diversion, whether it's alcohol, sex,
distractions galore, right? Yeah.
Seeing different people that aren't the people that you see every day, which
studying, right?
Study groups, yes.
Yeah,
study groups, exactly.
That's what I was into at that age, was studying.
Crickets.
Yeah.
The fact that there's no I didn't even set foot on that campus until we started shooting this documentary.
No way.
That's nuts.
I was across the street for 4 years, and the St. John's College is in between Navy Marine Corps Stadium, where the football games are, which is off the yard of the Naval Academy. And you could the shortest distance is through the St. John's campus. I would, as a lot of people would go around it to avoid, because you always felt like, I'm not really supposed to.
You don't want
be
that stink on you?
No, it's not that. It's just like I'm going to get in trouble if I'm going to be here. Anyway, so we're basically examining the relationship or the non-relationship that these two schools have with each other. And we've been doing it, like I said, for 10 years now. And the match is this Saturday, which is April 5th. And we're going to do a screening. It's not a premiere. Premiere, it's like a legal term. I mean, like,
gotcha.
It's like giving away your virginity in a way. You want to give away your cinematic virginity to the Sundance or
the BMOC of the campus, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's the whole term re-virginization. You could go that route.
Which, I'm fine with that, but I'm going to go for the real deal virginity first.
Okay.
So we're doing a screening, and to your point, Vic, it's not wrapped just yet. I've got, again, my producer / editor, Greg Brayton, and my director, Zach Guerra. They're in Annapolis right now, like, doing some awful grunt work on it. And I'm pretending like, they've called a bunch of times and I've not taken the phone call because I'm just not going to get involved at this point. It's actually doing this documentary. This is not even hyperbole. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And that includes the Naval Academy. And that includes being in 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines in the Persian Gulf War, being a father. What a journey it's been to make this.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, the equate, sort of the fatherhood with this thing. I mean, for 10 years, you've been sort of raising this project.
Keeping it, no, not even raising it, just keeping it alive.
Yeah.
Because I think, as we were talking about earlier, it's all being a documentary film producer, especially a low budget one, which I couldn't even imagine if somebody gave me $1 million. I wouldn't know what to do with it. So I basically, I wear like 10 hats. It's all these everything's like a collateral duty.
We work.
That's
for
weird. I have no idea what that's like.
We know exactly what
no
that's
idea.
like.
No, exactly. You guys are a perfect example. This place is kind of a dump. You know what I mean?
But it's hard.
I'm surprised we don't have a cup and string as we're doing this thing.
So I totally get that. But it's the Naval Academy again. Okay, here's the thing. It's a bit of a digression. So
that's our wheelhouse. So bring it.
Absolutely. So my daughter is 22. So when she was like 17, 18, we were touring schools, just to like where she's going to go to college. And as I went to these schools that were not the Naval Academy, I was sort of like amazed that people would talk about, they would lead you on these tours and be like, oh, Professor O'Hare, that guy changed my life. Or like, I would go to his office hours just to sit and be with this and
taking his musk.
Exactly. And that concept, like, I didn't even know what office hours were.
Yeah.
And
unless you're getting in trouble, right?
No, exactly. And, obviously commissioned officers, when you see them on the yard of the Naval Academy, were people to be avoided. Literally, you talk about walking around the campus of St. John's. I mean, you would see somebody, a Navy commander or something like that, and you go around. Because to have contact with those people was to invite scrutiny, which was to invite, shit, on you. And so, like, we lived this whole sort of life about, like, how's this person gonna fuck me up? Actually, it was interesting. So one of the guys that we interviewed for the Croquet documentary, he is an English professor and not a Navy or Marine Corps guy, but basically he says every day when you show up for the first day of class, and he goes, and those midshipmen are looking at you, basically the question that they have in their eyes is, how are you going to fuck me up? And I was like, ding. I was like, yes, that's exactly what it is. Again, I did not enjoy the Naval Academy at all. I am a storyteller. I am not a numbers person, but that school is all about, it's a STEM school. It's all about numbers. And so I was a history major because other than English, it was like the only other major that did not involve like crunching numbers. And I just chose it because it's like, I don't know. I guess, history's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But still, I had, weapons systems engineering, naval architecture, 2 semesters
Oh,
of
that sounds.
electrical engineering,
Good grief.
which I failed. Um, 3 semesters of calculus, a semester of differential equations.
Jesus.
What is it? Like basic like naval engineering. Um,
And these are core classes. Just no way you can avoid it.
no, I'm a history major. Okay, and we're talking about like this electrical engineering class, which was notorious for failing. Again, these people are supposedly like the quote cream of their generation as
Right,
far,
right.
and you have at one point it was like 75% of the class was unsat, as they call it, unsatisfactory, because they had like a D or an F in that class and couldn't go out like on the weekend or whatever. But I mean, this is junior year, and at this point
Oh,
you're just sort of
man.
like, why am I here?
What's that?
And people will say to me that sort of like, well, what was the journey like from being, Naval Academy in the Marine Corps to storytelling? I'm like, well, clearly I got some bad career advice. I mean, whatever. That's kind of being a little cheeky because, again, the thing that I did learn back to my daughter and looking at these schools, it made me sort of focus on, so what was the education that I got at the Naval Academy? Because I don't remember any of the classes. No professor changed my life. So I realized it was creative problem solving. And I think maybe that's either by design or it's just baked into the process, because as soon as you show up on induction day at the Naval Academy, they just start throwing problems at you for 4 years. And if you can successfully navigate all those hurdles, and they're academic ones, they are, honor and ethical ones, there's performance, there's all sorts of stuff in addition to the normal stresses that an 18 to 22-year-old faces. And if you can navigate all that stuff and get to graduation, I'm guessing that the Navy and Marine Corps says you have the requisite creative problem solving skills to lead sailors and Marines in the fleet. And what that says on your diploma, history, electrical engineering, whatever, they have to put something on there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a placeholder, I think. Because really it's the creative problem solving is what that education is. And as much as I did not enjoy it, I mean, I really did not enjoy the Naval Academy. I am thankful.
I'm getting that feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Have I made that clear enough? But I am thankful for those creative problem solving skills. The Marine Corps too gave me that in a more sort of like kind of stripped down way, in a more practical way, in some ways a more brutal way, I think, because it didn't have the sort of veneer of like, oh, this is supposedly an elite, institution of learning. But everything that I do now, because again, as we talked about, I'm a bit of a masochist. Clearly, I'm an ethnic Irish Catholic from Pittsburgh who went to the Naval Academy and then went into the Marine Corps, and now I'm a writer of literary fiction and low budget documentaries. And also too, I just did this film, Farsi language film about an 8-year-old girl deciding whether to wear the hijab for a class picture or not, called Rizu, which just got picked up by the New Yorker.
Oh, awesome.
Congratulations.
Yep, thank you. And I would be remiss if I did not mention my wonderful producing partner, Azadeh Navai. So you've got the former Muslim girl from Tehran, and you've got the former Marine officer from Pittsburgh combined to form
That's so cool.
superpowers.
That's amazing.
Where can folks see that?
Oh, it's on. Well, it's streaming right now. That the New Yorker has. They have, if you're a subscriber, they have their screening room. But you can also view it on the New Yorker's YouTube channel.
Oh, nice.
I think like 1 million people have seen the trailer. I'm trying to think now. It got released on January 31st, and I think I don't know, it's 30,000 or something have watched it online. But it's called Rizoo, Rizoo. And again, it's Farsi language. We shot it all in Los Angeles for Tehran, which was not hard to do actually.
Yeah, no, there's a massive Persian
Yeah,
sort
and
of diaspora there.
yeah, so
LA.
we had we had excellent Farsi speaking actors out the ass, and we actually got our sound design from Tehran because we still have connections.
Wasn't there a reality show like the Shaws of Beverly Hills or some shit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, sorry. Yeah.
And your point is, Vic?
Yeah.
This.
I'm just saying. I'm just leaning into this whole Persian diaspora.
Oh yeah,
thing
I
in
mean,
LA.
well, I mean, another
The,
nickname
reality TV
for
shows.
Los Angeles is Tehrangeles.
I've never
did not
heard
know
that.
that.
That's amazing.
And I love being a citizen of Tehrangeles. I mean, Persian culture is amazing, and Persian Los Angeles culture it's incredible. I have so many Persians in my life; it's amazing. So back to this creative problem solving thing. So the girl, Melissa Masanzadeh, who plays Rizu, the title character, she was 8 years old when we did this, like 2 years ago. She speaks fluent Farsi, but she grew up in the Valley in Van Nuys, so she is 100% a Valley girl, And so Azadeh, my director, would spend the first couple days of shooting trying to get. It's like, no, Melissa, pronounce it like this, because she has a very strong LA in Southern California accent. Like no native Farsi speaker would say, "Oh yeah, that girl's from Tehran."
Right.
So there was this, there was a bunch of like hand wringing for a while. Like, what do we do? And so again, Azadeh, because she's an amazing creative problem solver, goes, well, what if in the story we have it that she has come back to Tehran with her mom? And there's this whole thing where they have to read like an essay, like, what did you do last summer? And the movie starts out with that. And the teacher, because the film's about like petty authority and sort of resisting petty authority. And this teacher's like, what's up with your accent? Where are you from? And she's like, well, I'm from California. And everybody's like, whoa, California, Hollywood. But it's an amazing solution to this like insurmountable problem, and actually really strengthens the story. And as the story is primarily for Westerners, like Western Europeans and English speaking North Americans to watch, it connects you to her, to her journey. Cause it's like, oh, I know this kid, you know what I mean? Like she's an American, but she's in this situation.
Right.
So again, creative problem solving.
Well, yes, to get to your point about sort of the diploma vice, the actual like tangible education that you're getting, I think one of the things, and why like Marines, I think, for a lot of folks who haven't had to go through sort of the entry level training stuff, I mean, it's extensive. And when the Marine, when people say like, we've invested a lot of money in you, that they're not kidding. I mean, it's not like, in all respect to previous generations of Marines, but once we went to an all volunteer force, it just wasn't acceptable to just give someone enough training to hold and fire their weapon and then see, go do great things. And so, between boot camp and then initial training and then sort of OJT as you're sort of getting into the fleet, I mean, you're talking about years and years of this forging. And I think to your point about what the Naval Academy does is it gets through. It's the process that you went through that is, I think, is what is valuable. That piece of paper, like I said, you could put basically anything on it. Yeah. But you went through the crucible of, they forged this raw ore into, a steel, and then, the Marine Corps just sort of sharpens it, right?
Well, that's a really heroic sort of way.
That's what we're gonna do here today.
Vic,
we're gonna be heroic.
You're gonna need to look at a marketing career, because that was brilliantly.
I think it's one of my collateral.
That sounds like one of those Marine Corps, the sword and the stone.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
As you were saying that, you're talking about burnishing, and I was thinking, maybe in my case, when we're polishing a turd. You know what I mean?
Yes.
A highly polished turd. But yeah, it's the process. But it was interesting, I think, too, because then, of course, if you're going to being the masochist like us and you join the Marine Corps, then you go across the way over there to the basic school. And it's just, I was like, when is this going to end? When is this kind of like burnishing going to end? Like, I've been doing this for like my entire adult life. I'm 23 years old now. And it's just like, leave me alone.
What were your daughter's thoughts on university? Like,
Oh, she went to the University of Pennsylvania
Okay.
in Philly, which I'm like thrilled that I produced an Ivy Leaguer.
yeah.
Produced her out of the LA Unified School District who paid $0. I don't know. I mean, like, what do you mean? What does she think?
Well, so like sort of the juxtaposition between your experiences, Vice, what she was looking for, and
Well, she
like,
was.
did you just like, hey, you pick?
Oh,
Or okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so there was no sort of leaning her in a certain direction.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because, and I have to say, too, that like, so my father was a Marine pilot. He was an NFO
Yeah.
Rio in an F-4 Phantom in
Nice.
Vietnam. Flew 307 missions, and you talk about like a process that was in 13 months. He would actually tell the story, and I don't know how apocryphal it is, but they would occasionally, he was at Chu Lai, which is south of Da Nang, and they would occasionally go to Thailand, like to Ubon or Udorn, to see your husband's, predecessors.
Yeah.
And they would then try to go to the officers club there, and they would get stopped at the door and be like, whoa, hold on for a second. You need a sport coat to come in here. And you can imagine, I mean, again, the world was a lot
high.
Exactly. Aim high. And so you've got these Marines, and they have, their it's a Smith & Wesson Victory. It's like a 38 or something, but I always imagine it's a 45.
Yeah.
You've got a bandolier of ammunition there. Their heads are shaved, and they got these, handlebar mustaches, and it's like sport coat. Like, we're over there. We're fighting a war over there.
Yeah. So I just want a beer before I go back into it.
Yeah, we forgot to pack our sport coats. But actually, what they did, as well, is on my father being the kind of guy that he was, somebody had gotten hold of this tiger stripe camouflage, and somebody then had taken them to Hong Kong, and they made these sport coats out of them.
That is phenomenal.
Yep. And then they were lined in, I don't know if it's silk, but like blue for the officers, red for enlisted, and on the breast of the pocket, they had their squadron thing stitch. It's beautiful too, like a country club stitch, but they were the Death Rattlers. So you have a skull, and there is a rattlesnake crawling through it.
Yeah.
And so then when they would again be back in Thailand and like, oh, whoa there, guys, sport coats, and they'd be like, oh, right. And they would pop these things on over their flight suits and go, fuck you, get out of the way. And then they would get into the sort of discussion about like, how many missions have you flown? And, they would be like, 273. Get the fuck out of here. You didn't fly 273 missions. Yeah, we did. And anyway, difference between the Air Force and the Marine Corps. The taxpayer definitely gets its money's worth out of the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
100%. So your husband could have air conditioning.
And he is happy to point that out at any time. Then he would talk about, because he was an F4 Wizzo, and he was stationed at RAF Alconbury, and they would deploy to Aviano Air Base, and he'd say, "Yeah, we go fly some low levels, and then go out for pasta for dinner."
Yeah, and some good wine.
Yeah.
Again, we are in Okinawa. I remember, Jesus Christ, being like at Kinville in Okinawa, and all there are, it's just like drunk Marines, trying to, spend money, like trying to,
Yeah, it's nothing like being on Schwab during a typhoon, because one, you get to the package store early because that thing is gonna be fucking empty.
Yeah,
like. If you secure at 16:30, that place is empty at 16:45.
All the porn is gone. All the Slim Jims are gone.
Yeah, all the beer, like not even a chance. And then you have to worry about who's going to get so drunk that they think that they can parachute off the top of the barracks by holding their sheet over their head because the wind of the typhoon will just take them like fucking Mary Poppins off the top of this.
This is a typhoon scar right there.
Oh, no way.
There was like 37 stitches in there. So since I was in the Marine Corps from 88 to 93, we would also rent like VCR tapes.
Oh yeah.
And so
Beta.
I don't think they were
VHS.
beta.
I think Beta phased out at that point, right? They lost the marketing war.
And let's be honest, dude, the Marine Corps would never allow anything like called beta to be in.
Yeah.
These were alpha tapes for sure. No beta tapes allowed in
Okay.
the Marine Corps. I just remember so I was a supply officer for the 2nd Battalion, 3rd Marines. And so we had a warehouse and we would sort of hunker down in this warehouse. Wow, it was just so dysfunctional, but great. I remember one time I'd rented a Barry Levinson movie. I'm trying to think what it was. But it was like one of Barry's more Jewish story, like being about the identity of being Jewish, like a period piece. And so here is my section of guys, and I don't, they're mostly black guys, from Texas and stuff. That I was like, oh shit, everybody's there. There's no way they're gonna have the patience to watch this film. They were fucking silent. They were rapt to this Barry Levinson story
Wow.
about Jews in 1950s Baltimore. It was just one of those moments. I was just sort of like, fuck, I love Marines.
Yeah.
And actually, I think, too, one of the great things about the U.S. military in general and the Marines specifically is the fact that there's a lot of sort of, we'll say, like cultural sharing that happens. And to the point where I think it almost creates what I call like an alternate ethnicity in a way, because if you spent time in the U.S. military, and again, the Marine Corps, it's like, I know something about you and you know something about me. And even though you grew up, whatever, in a black neighborhood in North Houston, and I came from this, middle-class suburban neighborhood of Pittsburgh, we share a sort of a common understanding of each other, where like superficial differences like melanin content or gender or sexuality or ethnicity, they kind of go out the window. You're either like somebody you can trust.
Well, it's used as a weapon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the Marines will use that against you when
Yeah.
they're making fun of you. But as far as where you like, the totem pole is very horizontal in that way,
which is kind of amazing. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And this is a thing that I love to do too, because it's so stereotyped. The Marine Corps is the most stereotyped of all the services. And so when they hear you were a Marine, they make assumptions about you. But what's great about that is you can flip, it just makes it so much easier to sort of like make an impression in a way, or flip those assumptions on their head. If you think about it, like, well, I always say too that the U.S. military is the most progressive social organization or public organization in American culture, and people will go like, "Whoa, what are you talking about? These are, that can't be true." Just being a total like armchair historian, you figure that Truman desegregates the military in 47, 48. And we'll say then, the mainstream civil rights movement begins with, again, we'll say it's the Montgomery bus boycott, which is like 54, 55. So a full 6 or 7 years before American society begins this really like lumbering, journey into civil rights, the military is already tackling it. And I'm not saying it wasn't like fucking ugly for a very, very long time, but we do get to this point where even 30 years ago, I remember we're Colin Powell's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and even in like 1990 or 1991, nobody thought that was weird that a black man was the most powerful military person in the world and in charge of like a shitload of white people. They were just like, well, that's General Powell, which is kind of an amazing statement and a testament to this thing that I'm, referring to. And if you think about it too, it's the biggest socialist organization in American culture. Because you think about it, like, well, we house you, we feed you, we clothe you, we pay you whether you work or not. You get 30 days off paid from the entry
You got your health care covered.
Healthcare.
Well, what about officers? You always eat last, right? You serve your Marines first, and then you eat last.
But that's a really, okay, yeah, absolutely. And that's a really beautiful thing, I think. And this kind of goes back to almost like this Catholic element that I think too exists. And again, as I was saying, I don't know if we got this on
This was part of the pre-show.
Again, I call myself an ethnic Catholic. I was baptized, and as soon as I started complaining at CCD, which is like the learn about your Catholic faith, at about age 11, my parents like, you don't have to go back. Because they were both sort of sitting on the fence, because I think there was probably abuse on both sides. But it's 1976. Well, you just do this. But as soon as I started bitching about it, Mrs. Maitland, that's right. I had this argument with Mrs. Maitland. I was like, it's ridiculous.
Full disclaimer that we are not saying anything wrong about
Yeah.
Mrs. Maitland was a wonderful woman.
Yeah.
I was just a little know-it-all punk.
The opinions about Mrs. Maitland do not
Reflect
come from the Marine Corps Association.
Hey, she's probably not even alive anymore. But to her heirs, your grandmother was an amazing woman, and I'm not besmirching her character in any way. But anyway, so I perceived it was one of these revelations I had. Like, I still perceive the world through the eyes of like this Catholic lens. I mean, yeah, I love beer, and I mean, that's like a stereotype, but I get that the kind of working class culture of Catholicism. Catholics are the donkeys, right? The Protestants are in charge of everything, and you've got, whether it's Mexicans in L.A. or Irish building the Erie Canal, or they're good donkeys. They work really hard and they don't complain. So I see that as like the rank. 75% of the Marine Corps is Lance Corporals,
right?
So there's this. They bitch a lot, but still they do work incredibly.
What did it say? You ain't complaining, we ain't training, right?
No, absolutely. So wait, what is my point about like the Catholicism? Wait, what did you just say about?
Fuck, what did I say?
Something brilliant.
I'm sure it was amazing. Yeah, we'll go back and. It was. I mentioned about officers eat last.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of like, again, ideally, like I'm attracted to this idea of like Catholic priests taking a vow of poverty, because if you think about it,
sort of like servant
leadership.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I love that. That was one of the things I loved about the Marine Corps, being able to be in a position of, hopefully of attaining a kind of servant leadership with Marines. Like, that's such an honor. And again, being a parent, I think, is like that as well.
For sure.
And I mean, everything that I do in my writing, in my filmmaking, it's really to that end of illuminating like these kind of concepts, because the concepts are more important than me. Yes, I have an ego, but I don't, these things, like, I'm a low budget documentary.
Yeah.
I'm a low budget filmmaker. I wrote a book of literary fiction short stories. I'm not getting rich off these things, but I kind of don't care, because I'm rich. And look, I'm here today. You know what I mean? I'm talking to you guys. I am fucking rich. And I'm not even being like, I'm being a little bit cheeky about it, but I am absolutely rich. I had a party on Saturday night, ostensibly a birthday party, but my birthday was like 3 weeks ago. But there's this thing they have every year. It's like the Writers Geek Conference. It's called AWP. It's like the American Association of Writers and Writing Programs. So everybody converges on a different city. Anyway, so I just withheld it, or the party, or delayed it until AWP, which was in Los Angeles this year. So I was like,
nice.
Oh, it's terrific. So in addition to all like the amazing, smart weirdos, brilliant weirdos that I know in LA, which is a lot, I had all these other out of town ones coming in from all over the place. And like, I just remember standing there looking at this party of all these people that, like, quote, shouldn't be together.
Yeah, right.
And just like, I got Siberians, I got Muscovites, I got Ukrainians, you know what I mean? They're all like, the poet laureate of Phoenix was there, you know what I mean? I got,
an eclectic blend of people who all can come together because they've got common ground, which is just like the Marine Corps.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So, hey, thank you.
Wow.
Wow, Nancy.
Someone must be an executive editor of a magazine who put that.
Well,
Yeah.
No, exactly. And that's the thing that just totally turns me on about all this stuff. And the thing that continually excites me about the Marine Corps, even though, like I said, being in the Marine Corps, I didn't super enjoy it. But that concept of it was, it is, here's another thing that I say a lot. The U.S. military is the most diverse tribe in the history of humanity. It just is. I mean, I dare anybody to come up with a tribe that is more diverse than the U.S. military. You have literally everybody, and you have a lot of everybody, of every sort of persuasion,
All
Yeah.
walks of life.
all walks of life, even people who aren't even from this country are here. When in 2-3, when I was in the Persian Gulf War, we had a corporal, and he was from Iraq, and the first time that he was back in the region was in the uniform of a United States Marine in an infantry battalion, getting ready to face off against the Iraqi armed forces. He disappeared someplace. I'm sure they plucked him out for his linguistic capabilities, but still, that dynamic just blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
Well, I want to backtrack a little bit
Yes.
before we dive into the book.
Yeah.
I gotta know.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to go to the Marine?
Yes, so I was going to ask the same thing.
Academy?
So did you know about these dynamics that you're talking about when you?
No.
So what was it like? What brought a Irish kid from Pittsburgh to the Yellow Footprints, or at least to Annapolis first?
I wanted to be. I mean, I
Well,
wanted
because your dad's a leatherneck. So.
absolutely. So, my father. Okay, so again, I can't remember where we set it up, but my father, was this NFO reel and an F4 Phantom. I already said this, but for the Death Rattlers, his personal mythology. I'm fascinated by mythologies, contemporary American mythologies specifically, and I mean, again, you can't get more of a huger mythology than that of the United States Marine Corps. As I've alluded to, it's almost like that of a religion, and it's consciously sold that way. My great friend, classmate, and fellow Marine, Dave D'Eugenio, is a retired colonel. He worked in recruiting for a while. And we had this long car. This is after I fell all over the Pope of the Marine Corps. I just said it. The Commandant of the Marine Corps. And we had this long ride back to my house in LA. He's like, hey, Brian, because you know what the Marine Corps sells, right? Again, he's coming from the recruiting command.
Right.
He goes, we sell transformation. And that blew me away, because if you think about it, what does religion sell? It sells transformation as well. So really what the Marine Corps sells is that we will take very average young men and women, and we will turn them into demigods in a way, because we say you are a demigod. We make, I did not coin this, but it's making the lie come true, because you and I are Marines, Vic, but we're just guys. But because the Marine Corps says we're Marines, and Nancy, not being from that background, but just being an American, is like, yeah, well, sure, you guys are Marines. Even, like my writer friends, my filmmaking friends are like, well, yeah, you're a Marine. Even people who aren't even American, Azadeh, except she's like, well, you're a Marine. That is such a powerful, transformation, that even people who have no skin in the game or whatever, or not even a part of this culture, just believe it. So you talk about making the lie come true. That is so powerful.
Yeah.
So for me, growing up with a father that kind of had that kind of personal magnetism in mythology. So when my father died, a friend of ours who we grew up in Pittsburgh, he said, he summed it up perfectly for who my father was. He said, your father was the shit. And everyone knew it. And I was like, yeah, that's right. My father was the shit. And indeed, everyone knew it. So growing up with this guy, he's this kind of quintessential, the best, New York Irish mid-century, guy. He could read, back when they had the white pages, he could read the white pages and you would be spellbound at his storytelling ability. He was big, he was handsome, he was physical. He was like a combination of like, like Jackie Gleason and like spaghetti Western era Clint Eastwood rolled into one. Do you feel lucky, punk? That kind of guy, where you could stop a robbery while you were eating a hot dog or something like that, and you never lost your cool. That was my dad. And very consciously, I think, so I wanted to be him. And so here's this guy who's this Marine pilot, and like this place, Vietnam, Chu Lai, Da Nang, Hanoi, all these, it's like poetry in a way. And it sort of like, it, like took root in my imagination. And I was like, I want that. And he went to NYU, and to him, as we as parents, like our kids are better than us, right? So my dad's theory was that, well, shit, like you are going to be a Marine, but you're going to go to the Naval Academy because that's the ultimate place. Again, in his opinion, he called it the man factory.
I love that.
Yes, I mean, but like it's like so it perfectly encapsulates the whole thing. So from a very early age, he sort of like hitched his own sort of like Odyssean personal mythology to that of the Marine Corps, which, as we know, is like a religion. And it was like impossible to resist. I mean, like literally impossible to resist. Like I couldn't have, like I got an NROTC scholarship to play, I was going to play football at Cornell. I got an NROTC scholarship. So it wasn't going to cost anything. And I remember I was like, maybe I'll go to Cornell. My father stopped talking to me for 2 weeks. It's interesting.
Wow.
I look back on that, and I mean, it's terrible. Like I would never. It's so manipulative. But he was going to get his way, and so I went to this place. And I was like, God, this sucks. Like it's electrical engineering, and I failed it. Here I am. I'm 21 years old, and they're going to kick me out of the Naval Academy.
History major taking electrical engineering.
Exactly. It's like this fucking sucks, and I'm going to be like painting parking spaces for the Navy at the Navy Yard because they're going to get a return on their like, we gave you 2.5 years of schooling, get to painting parking spaces. Right. And I was like, this sucks. But again, so growing up with my father like that, I had to do it. And I guess too, I had to experience it firsthand to know that it's like, oh, this is not for me. So that's what led me to the Naval Academy. I guess that answers your question.
Yeah, yes, no, totally.
That was the question.
Yeah, and so, but for those who don't know, once you go to the Naval Academy, it's not like there is like on day one, hey, you want to be a Marine or you want to be a sailor. So you have to basically apply, right? Like, or raise your hand. Who wants to be a Marine, or declare your intentions to be. And the mythology is it's only the top 16% of the
16 and 2/3%. I think it is. Yeah.
Get to.
I was the 2/3%, obviously. But yeah, I mean, again, like some of the Marines who went to the Naval Academy, I mean, like Colonel Ripley. I mean, he's talk about a mythological figure.
Oh, yeah.
Ripley at the Dong Ha Bridge. Here's one of those great things. Colonel Ripley, first of all, I just have to say, was an amazing leader. He was an amazing human being. He made you always feel like $1 million. Zero pretension. He was not one of those people that you would have avoided when you saw them on the yard at the Naval Academy, because I think there's a lot of similarities between Colonel Ripley and Sparky Renforth, as far as like they're just sort of like really instinctual. Those guys are born leaders.
Right.
Everybody's
in their DNA.
Completely. Yeah. Another quick digression. I remember being at one of these change of command ceremonies at Sparky Renforth's house. And I mean, again, it's just shit-faced people everywhere. And
that's weird at a Marine thing.
I know.
But again, here is like the regimental commander, right? And again, I kind of think Jesus Christ, like I would just want to like show my face and get out of there. But it's, at the time it's Colonel Renforth. And there's like the next day, there's like a Lance Corporal like passed out on his couch. As I'm waking up to go like to find coffee or whatever. I mean, there's a Lance Corporal in uniform like drooling on himself because he's fucking hungover, like on the colonel's couch. But I mean, that's what I mean is like, of course, this Lance Corporal did not feel like, everybody knows who the the shit is, to use that quote again. But everybody can just be themselves. So anyway, Colonel Ripley was that guy, and he would have us over to his house. And you would always just feel kind of cool. His wife would bake you cookies. Like she actually gave me my first set, my second lieutenant's bars, and she had them engraved with.
Oh wow!
Oh my gosh!
And I got to dig them out someplace because now, sadly, both Colonel and Mrs. Ripley are not with us anymore. But they were fucking awesome. And so I guess, we're talking about this mythology of the 16 2/3%. I mean, like, great Marines come out of the Naval Academy. It was great. I dated this girl in Norfolk, Virginia. Her dad turned out to be a 64 Academy grad, which was 62. Colonel Ripley was 62. And he's like, oh, he goes, John Ripley? He goes, that guy barely graduated. And I was like, wait, what? Because again, here,
Yeah.
But that's interesting too, because all those halls at the Naval Academy, they didn't get those halls named after them because they followed the rules.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were the ones that like, ooh, you got kicked out. Oh, now, well, yeah, we'll take you back in, or your grades suck, or you like King Hall. I think Admiral King was the guy, all the lights are out in the carrier battle group, but you've got like 60 Corsairs and Wildcats. It's like, turn the lights on, you know what I mean? Because we need to land these planes, but putting the battle group at risk. But it worked, and now he's got King Hall's named after.
Got a building named after him.
No, exactly. But so I think that's instructive as well, because again, when you're there, it's so like, you follow the rules, and like your gig line's fucked up. So I was on detention for 6 months where you muster. For inspection, was it like twice a day during the weekdays? This is in addition to all your other formations and classes where they're trying to stub you out like a cigarette. And then on the weekends, you do 6 musters on Saturday and Sunday, and they just check your uniform. And that's all you do is you just muster for inspection. I mean, whatever. I mean,
you survived.
I did, and I'm a better writer and
you got a
producer for it.
Yeah, it's so speaking of which, I mean, so you get all of this. I mean, I think we were talking before we were recording that you get this almost, whether it's part of your DNA or it's just drilled in you so much that it becomes part of your fiber.
Yeah.
Of this idea that like there's a problem that needs solving.
Yes.
Hey, dude, shut the fuck up so I can focus on this thing because like I could sit here and cry and go, this isn't fair.
Yeah.
Or just get the shit done because it needs to get done. And I definitely want to lean into that story because it's great, and I'm such a nerd about where it occurred.
To say you're a nerd is an understatement. You're a little bit more than a nerd.
Yeah. So
you're a nerd's nerd.
So how was that transition then from Marine Corps into this world of big and small screen?
I mean,
was it something you set out to do?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, my God. Again, if you had asked me on induction day at the Naval Academy, it's like, what do you see yourself doing at age 28 when you're done with your commitment? I would say, I'm going to be an actor, which then would lead to the question, like, so what are you doing here then? But whatever. I was 18, right? I had the shit as the father who was not going to take no for an answer. And what's interesting, too, because I mean, all of like these, again, in Surrender, it's basically, it's like, again, as it's described as this journey into the American hero myth. I grew up with the father that was the embodiment of the American hero myth. And I was kind of like groomed in a way, or bred, or whatever you want to call it, to be this person. So again, I'm in Western Pennsylvania in the 80s. I play football, of course, because that's
what you do.
That's what you do. And, like Hollywood was making movies about Western Pennsylvania high school football in the 80s with Tom Cruise, like all the right moves. Georgievich, got to get out of this dying steel town. I mean, it's like Flashdance, but, with cleats. But that's all happening like while I'm in high school playing high school football. And it wasn't just like playing high school football. We were like USA Today top 25 in the nation thing. So there's this other kind of like, it's all sort of feeding this thing. And not only did I just play, I was like the captain of the football team. And I was, all whippeal I was a center. It's just all this, of course, this is what you do. It's these masculine American archetypes, these hero archetypes. And then what does a person who comes from that background do next? Well, fuck, of course you go to the Naval Academy because it's the man factory. And it's just like adding layer upon layer of this, like,
very Santini-esque.
Absolutely. Okay. Quick digression. I'm very critical of portrayals of Marines in movies. I have to say that Robert Duvall's portrayal of
Bull Meacham.
Fucking just chef's kiss. Because he really gets the religion, he gets that the part of my thing too, which the greatest thing about the Marine Corps is everybody's a burning bush, right? So you could be a PFC, everybody's killed, but you have a private, or you're a Lance Corporal and it's just two guys left in the company. You've got a Lance Corporal and a PFC. And the Lance Corporal's like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to hold off the NVA battalion or the Taliban or whoever it is. And then they kill everybody. And then they find out later it was just a 19-year-old Lance Corporal and an 18-year-old PFC because of the burning bush. The Lance Corporal knows that he has it within him to do this. And again, it makes the lie come true. Again, it's the brilliance of the Marine Corps because it's so decentralized. It filters down to the lowest level where really average, again, 19-year-olds know that they can hold off a North Vietnamese army battalion or, the Taliban or whatever. And it just doesn't even occur to them that that's not the case because they are Marines.
Right.
And I also love it too. There's this implied leadership where major, you're not just a major, you're a major of Marines. You're a Lance you're also a Lance Corporal of Marines. So you think about it, there's leadership is implied in that because it implies all these, it's brilliant. It's again, as a writer, it's such a subtle distinction, but well,
there's so many accounts that are similar to what you're tapping into of like, I mean, we've had Jeremiah Workman on the show a couple times. It was a Silver Star recipient, Navy Cross. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Yeah, Navy Cross recipient for his actions in Fallujah, and it was one of those things that, like, and I don't think that he said this specifically, but he did say, "Well, they just kept coming. I'm not going to let them take my brothers away from me. Like, I'm not going to leave them here. I'm not going to leave them here."
Yeah.
Or other accounts where you get the you're like, well, we weren't even supposed to be there that day.
Yeah.
That kind of shit, but I guess to the point of, what we've been talking about at this point is that there, through that mythology and through these archetypes, you have instilled in this culture of there's a problem that needs to be solved. And I don't even recognize that it's not within my capacity to solve it.
Absolutely. And you just, again, like you said, you just get on with the business of solving the problem. And oftentimes it's so much simpler than that. I think, this reference of the Navy Cross winner, he wasn't thinking, it was just a very visceral, emotional thing. I love you. So nobody is going, I'm going to protect, I love you. So I love you more than I love myself. So I am not leaving. And then, then we read about the account, we're like, oh my God, like, how did this guy do this?
Yeah.
He wasn't even thinking about it. He just loves these people.
Yeah, I think he was thinking, like, where do these guys keep coming from? I think that's one thing he kept saying, like, where do these guys keep coming from?
Yeah.
Because it was like a 3-hour battle.
Yeah. Oh, actually, so I know, way digressing off. So I have a friend of mine that I went to my high school with, a great guy named Sam Hazo. Upper St. Clair High School is the place where I went. His dad, who's like 95 or 96 now, he was the poet laureate of the state of Pennsylvania. And he was also a Marine officer, like 1950. And he's still alive, and his mind is still, it's like it's a fucking sharp K-bar.
Right.
And last time I was in Pittsburgh, I was like, Sam, I've never met your dad before. Again, now we're like, we do the same thing. And so he took me over to his dad's house. His dad baked me an apple pie.
No
Oh my
way.
gosh.
So we ate apple pie and we drank coffee. And it's Dr. Hazo, or Hasso is the more accurate, like Lebanese pronunciation. He was commissioned to write a poem for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's Medal of Honor memorial. And it was fascinating to hear him talk about it. It's a great poem. It's called, I can't remember what it's called, but it's not what you think it is, because it's about it's about love. And again, I love the way that Dr. Hazo's mind works, where he takes this thing, instead of going for like this kind of like the heroics of it, it's about, I love you more than I now love myself. And so then I got the Medal of Honor. I sacrificed my life, but it's about love. He basically says, like, think about love. And that's what the thing is. And that was really, again, like great art. I think it really makes you think about these, the mysteries of human existence. And Dr. Hazo totally, like, it's about love. And I realized the thing that, again, like I've said it a million times, I did not enjoy my time in the Marine Corps, but I got, I'm sorry.
We're getting that
No,
idea.
exactly.
Q212.
Yeah. But the thing that I got so much love from Marines. My Marines specifically, there's like 5 names in the beginning of this book that I dedicated to them, because of all, I mean, they completely transformed the way that I see the world. The person that I am
That's a powerful thing.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's like the last story in the book. I don't know if you guys remember it or whatever, but it's about, the Marine Corps promises transformation. And oftentimes the transformation, I think the real, like, significant transformation that happens is maybe not the stuff like in the commercials. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it completely transformed, again, who I am, the way I see the world, the things that I believe in, because they gave me love. And it just still continued. It humbles me to this day. And even, like, I'm still in touch with, everybody that wants to be in touch with. I flew down to Santiago, Chile with my son over Christmas break. We have another classmate who's a captain for United, and he has buddy passes. And so I told my son, I was like, it might be an adventure getting down there. You fly standby. So you got to fly through Houston, because Houston is like, it doesn't go right from LA to Santiago.
Right.
Houston, because Houston's right above Santiago. So we take, we get there as the one flight has already left. And it's like 9:00 at night. We're in Houston. I was like, well, I'm gonna text Roderick Nelson. Hey, Roderick, it's Brian, and me and Declan are here, and like, we're going to stay at your house tonight. And, he's one of my Marines. He's one of the guys that's mentioned in the book here. And he's like, yeah, of course. And so I was like, yeah. And also too, my son's never been to Texas. He wants Texas barbecue. So we get like a pound of brisket, we get
Nice.
a jalapeno. And so we show up, and man, like, the barbecue is there. It's just unbelievable. And just, again, that love, and to have my son be able to experience that very firsthand. And also too, again, talking about like this diverse tribe, to have my son be able to dip his toe into the hospitality of Black American culture, in Black Houston specifically, it was like such like a privilege and a gift.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we went and got, catfish and grits the next day at the Breakfast Club, which is this institution in Houston. It's just amazing. And again, the love continues.
Right.
And now it's like my son got it washed over him. And as we were going to the airport the next day, he was just like, that was really cool. Like, I'm glad that we got bumped or didn't make the flight. So again, this like experience of being in the Marine Corps is just, it's way more than just, the nuts and bolts of mission accomplishment.
So, I mean, is that sort of is that the for lack of a better term, sort of the central thesis that you're trying to sort of unpack with this book? Because so for those who, I highly encourage everyone to go pick it up, but
So do
it,
I.
yeah, that's really, you endorse this?
Buy more than one copy, please.
Yeah. So, but it's not a sort of a straightforward narrative as you would imagine a book to be. Chapter one, it's a collection of short stories that you've put together.
Interconnected short
Right.
stories. There's a basically we follow a protagonist that appears in each one of the stories.
There's various phases.
Exactly. Beginning in this mythological or fictional middle class suburb of Pittsburgh in the 1980s, and then at the Naval Academy in this fictionalized Marine infantry battalion during the Persian Gulf War, and then some more like middle-aged stuff.
But these were all previously published.
Yes.
So what was your thought? Like, what form were you playing with? Like, why do this instead of writing a straightforward sort of point A to Z sort of narrative?
It's a great question, and it comes
That's
back.
That's what I do.
No, and I get why he's in the Gazette and why people fall asleep when they read the Gazette.
That does not happen.
Yeah, no,
Sleepy Vic Rubel.
Yeah, Sleepy Vic. Again, it's just again comes back to creative problem solving again. So at the time, I'm 59 now, so I'm going to guess this book took me like 6 years to write. And that's not an indication of agonizing over it. I mean, I certainly...
A labor of love, right?
Absolutely. But I mean, so again, whatever, this is 2017 or something, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. And I've always known that these stories are in my head somewhere. Even when the whole time when I was in the Marine Corps, I couldn't help but like look at it from a storyteller's perspective. Every situation that I was in, I was like, oh, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
And so I was always
material for later on.
Completely. I mean, there's two types of writers, I think. There are architects and there are gardeners. An architect says, I'm going to write like the Empire State Building. And then he or she goes off someplace and a year later, like, look, it's the Empire State Building. I don't know how people do that. As a gardener, everything is a seed potentially. So there was that conversation with you, Nancy, whatever. I'm using this, Lance Corporal Nelson did this thing and it's stuck in my head. And it's like these little seeds. And then I will go and I will plant them all. And you go, and you kind of water them and shit comes up. And it's like, that's really ugly. And you'll weed, you'll pull stuff out. And then at a certain amount of time, it's like maybe you thought you were planting corn, but you get like a palm tree. But it was supposed to be a palm tree all along.
Right.
And I don't like force, that's the architect.
Right.
It's got to be corn. I'm just like, oh, shit, that's a beautiful palm tree or whatever. And so I think that it's kind of truth or whatever, sort of, it's organic to the process. So again, 7-8 years ago, it's like, oh, I know these things are in my head, but I don't know. I don't have an MFA. I mean, it's like today in this, you have an MFA?
Yeah, it's something I like to. It's actually, I have a T-shirt. I just forgot to wear it today.
And I think it's written all over you, Vic. You don't need to wear a T-shirt. And to our listeners who don't know what an MFA is, it's a Master of Fine Arts.
Yeah.
It's what you get if you go to graduate school to learn how to write, or make films or something like that. I don't have one. So again, back to the thing about me feeling like, oh, I got validated because the Marine Corps Association is going to put me on their podcast. That's true. I do. Actually, on Tuesday, I'm going to speak at a literature of war class at the Naval Academy taught by...
that's really cool.
That is very cool.
It's because, again, this is now in the curriculum at the Naval Academy.
Oh, awesome.
My friend MJ Pilata, who is a retired Marine colonel, bless you,
Excuse me,
is teaching it. And so I'm going to go and speak to the class, which again, the validation of that, because like I was always like seeming like the Naval Academy is always threatening to throw me out or at least let me know
Or at
that
least when you were there, keeping you there. Now that you're out, you're not allowed back.
they still don't really like me, I don't think. They always definitely from 84 to 88, they made it very clear that we don't like you. And if we get any opportunity to do anything, like you're gone. Because again, you're a dissenter. You swim upstream. And it was, it's true. I copped to all that. But so being able to go back to the Naval Academy and to speak in a literature of war class is super
So cool.
That's really cool.
satisfying.
Very cool. Yeah.
So again, I don't have an MFA. I want to tell these stories. So I'm going to sit down. I'm just going to start doing it. Again, another kind of great Marine Corps thing. That's on the job training.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like I read. I'm an obsessive reader. Really, I think people are like, oh, so how do you become a writer? This is how you could have saved all that money.
Read.
Yeah,
Read,
exactly.
Read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 3 things actually: read, write, don't quit.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the only solution. Whether you're any good at it or not, or have talent, or that's for other people. Actually, some people. I have a friend of mine. He's a poet and he teaches poetry at NYU. Great guy named Ken Hart. He says actually he never introduces himself as a poet. He goes, "That's for other people to decide." And I was like, "Ooh, you know what
Nice.
I mean? Like it's really true." Anyway, so I sit down and I just start writing. And I start writing short stories because I figure if I can't write a compelling 15-page short story, there's no way in hell I can write a 250-page novel. So it's like going like, let's see if I can tell a compelling story in this amount of time. And so then, a couple of years, and I'm like, okay, I think I actually have.
You're gaining some traction, right? Because you're publishing these short stories.
They weren't published yet. So
Yeah.
we're talking like 5 years
okay.
of just laboring in obscurity. Again, I'm a masochist, Again, it's redundant. I am a Marine. And so me sitting in my sweltering or freezing garage in Los Angeles in just all this sort of like seem possibly fruitless labor, which I'm fine with. And then I have an ego, of course. I'm like, okay, well, people need to experience the glory of these stories.
Right.
So then I start sending them out once I'm like, these are like technically or craft wise, this is definitely a compelling story. And then, so some of them get published, there's like 300 rejections.
Of course.
It's constant.
Yeah.
That's another good thing that I think like the Naval Academy and Marine Corps, the military in general, is you're very comfortable like taking a punch in a way. Because we just get, again, the thing that makes, that unites all of us in the military, again, makes the surface stuff go away. It's through a common suffering that we bond with each other, because we all kind of get treated like shit a little bit.
Trauma bonding.
Trauma bonding, absolutely. And so it really doesn't matter whether, your ancestors were, dragged here, stolen from someplace else, or whether they walked here. Or we kind of like, again, we all get treated like shit in the Marine Corps is really good at that. Instead of like you mentioned, your husband went to Aviano, Italy. Like, were you kidding me? Like we go to Okinawa and we go to Camp Moonchuck outside of Pohang in Korea.
Well, they've got Darwin now. So, I mean, it's getting a little better.
Anyway, I'm going to digress.
But I guess to your point, though, also along those lines is it's constantly just beaten about the head and ears that if you don't take the initiative or if you don't ask, then the answer is always no. It's already no. So what the hell? Like,
no, exactly. Yeah. That's a huge superpower, I think. I will basically ask anybody for anything. And it's just one of these things. And two, I don't know how old to anybody out there, I'm a big believer in the cold email or a cold phone call. I'm going to say that there's like, if you do it properly, if you word it right, and you don't sound like an idiot, I don't know, like there's like a 60% success rate, I think, and that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And when you do get the 4 out of 10 no's, it's like, okay, big deal, moving on. Oh, I got rejected again. So when I was getting rejected all those times, I kept sharing it with my kids. Because I was like, oh, look, another rejection. And then there's just like, Daddy, like, that's, how many is that? And I'm like, well, that's 273. But, I'm going to keep submitting these things. And
what a great lesson for them.
I just want them to be able to again, that I looked at my father like he was a superhero, and I think he cultivated that a little bit. And I don't know how like ethical that was. And so part of the surrender in this thing is sort of demythologizing my father in a way, because he was a very mortal man in so many ways. And especially too, like he died of Agent Orange at age 56. So I've now outlived my father by 3 years. And like, here's another one of these. Wow, what a crazy thing. He basically didn't talk to me for the last 5 years of his life, because I didn't go then in this trajectory of, up, continuing to be the ultimate American hero male. Well, once you get out of the Marine Corps after having gone to the Naval Academy, you've got the golden fucking ticket of American society. You do whatever your next stop, you become rich. And I was like, well, I'm going to become an actor. And I grew my hair long. I had a beard. I lived in Seattle in the early 90s, and in the neighborhood.
What a great place to be.
In the 90s, get out of here.
Holy cow.
Guys, I lived on Capitol Hill, which was the neighborhood, the epicenter of that. And so imagine,
movement.
I mean, like literally you would see like Kurt Cobain like walking his dog down the street. I remember there's a friend from Pittsburgh came out. We used to hang out at this place called Linda's Tavern, which was like one of the living rooms of Capitol Hill on Pine Street. And he's like, oh shit. He goes like, it's the basis for REM. Oh shit, that's REM. There was like,
my buddy's from Seattle. He would say that like you would go to some dive bar and you could very easily end up seeing like pre-massive explosion, like the seed beds of Soundgarden, Nirvana, and Pearl Jam all the same night at some fucking dive bar.
Yeah, like at the off ramp, literally, because it was at the off ramp of the 5 freeway. I saw Soundgarden at this like. The place is not much bigger than this office. You know what I mean? Fucking Soundgarden. Soundgarden is big, and so it was
Yeah, what a time to be there, man.
Absolutely. And I have to say too that like so much of that really influenced just the way that I see this post Marine Corps world. And I'm still very close with like, so then it kind of like, Amazon then comes in, Microsoft starts to get bigger. And it went from being this place of like amazing creativity, and that was not that expensive to live at. Like people really didn't have to have jobs. Like they'll remember this friend of mine, Jamie McMurray, and he lived in this sort of like, it's almost like the Chelsea Hotel of early 90s Seattle. It was called the Dover apartment building. I don't think anybody in that building had a job. And every time I would see him, he'd always be like in this like Aztec gold, like velour bathrobe, and like smoking cigarettes with a shaky hand, like throwing burning garbage out of his window and filming it. And he just never worked. But we always knew like, oh, Vic, or Nancy's bartending at Linda's Tavern, and you would never have to pay for anything. You didn't have to pay to go see shows. And so we lived in this kind of like this like perfect little world. But of course it couldn't last. Right. And again, Amazon comes in and just fucking like drops an atomic bomb on that place. And anyway,
now you're in LA, so.
And then we all moved to LA. But I mean, making that transition. So yeah, again, my father didn't talk to me because that was what I opted for instead of going to law school, because obviously I can talk. And obviously with that golden ticket, my ability to talk, well, fuck, you'd be an amazing corporate lawyer. I wouldn't be alive if I was a corporate lawyer. I would have maybe literally killed myself. But my father thinks can do this manipulation thing one more time. It worked when I was 18. But again, having been through the first 10 years of my adult life, Naval Academy and the Marine Corps, I was like, 28. I need to live my life, and this is the path that it begins on. So anyway, he dies at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and basically I wipe his ass for 2 months. Because he's got these corpsmen, and it was like the first day I was there, and they're like, all right, hey, you go, we'll roll him over. And I was like, wait, what? And like, oh, we're just going to clean him up, sir. And I was like, I can't let you guys clean my dad's ass. You know what I mean? It's like, and my dad is like, he's a big guy, and he's kind of rolled over on his side, and he's like, you don't have to do this. And I was like, really? You're going to let a bunch of fucking like Navy corpsmen wipe your ass? I was like, I'm going to wipe your ass. Anyway, So wait, what is it? What the fuck was the point, Vic?
We were just talking about sort of the transition from moving from, like we said, like this extremely regimented cult like atmosphere into
Total freedom. Which again, that was the.
I mean, was so you have a story in your bio about John Waters.
Okay. Yes. For people who don't know who John Waters is, he's.
Wait a minute. For people who don't know who John Waters is, pause the podcast, go do some damn research, watch a movie or two, and then come back to listening.
Thank you. Yes, we'll wait. We'll
All right, now that you're back.
Yeah, now that you're back. So, you know who John Waters is now. So, during basic school, again, like you, Vic, were watching Firefly or whatever it was on Friday nights. Like, you kind of make me sick a little bit that time on Friday night, I was so far away from Can't Bear It. What did you guys call Can't Bear It?
Well, no, yeah, well,
can't
bear it.
Cannot bear it.
Well, so we didn't. Just a total digression, but the O'Bannon barracks were being renovated, so we had to live out in town. Yeah, there's only. I
knew there was something soft.
Yeah,
about
there's
you.
only like a handful of the guys because we also had international. So like, all of the guys that I was with, we had a brown bagger, and he was from Kazakhstan.
Oh wow!
So he had to have his own. He's a captain. He had his own barracks room, and so they're like, but they didn't tell us until we got there. And all of a sudden, it was like, all right, hey, you guys got about 36 hours to find a place to live because the barracks, most of them haven't been are not done renovating them yet. And so like 300 lieutenants just like disperse like little baby praying mantises out of an egg sack, just go flying out into the Stafford. And we ended up all the way in Dale City because it's the only place we could find.
Spot?
Yeah.
That gives me anxiety, that story. Just the whole idea of like, whatever, 300 sweaty second lieutenants out, like
trying to, like you literally weren't looking at the place
on the town.
Yeah, it was just like, is that place available? We'll take it, and you're putting a deposit down to get the. Anyway, yeah. So that's why
fascinating digression. Thank you for that. To know that you're not old core, like. Anyway, so. On Friday night, like as soon as they pass the word,
pass the word.
Of course, it's like 8 o'clock at night because it's like whatever you've come in from
word,
come in from the field at like 5 o'clock, and you're just waiting around like a bunch of dipshits. Like what? Just press the fucking word. You would just see my taillights. And there were two other classmates of mine, a guy named Mike Kraft, who was an Aviate, as a Harrier pilot, became a Harrier pilot, and a friend, Matt Balters, who was also a pilot. Anyway, so we would go to Baltimore because again, wanted to put fucking distance.
Yeah, that's some serious distance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I still, again, if anybody's in the vicinity of Baltimore and you don't go to the Club Charles, like you missed it. You missed. Well, yeah, exactly. And you should stop listening to this podcast right now because you're not my kind of people. But the Club Charles is right. It's a legendary place, and it's right across. It's on North Charles Street, just south of North Avenue, kind of across from Pennsylvania Station in Baltimore. And I mean, it's like, it was probably kind of nice the day it opened in 1933, but it's been like this like steady
decline for 100 years.
Exactly. This like amazing, like each day just adds to its luster. And it was probably like, it's like Art Deco kind of, and they have like these like WPA murals that are painted on the wall. I know those might have got added. I don't know, but they are sort of faded and kind of elegant and shitty at the same time. And like Baltimore itself, I mean, that bar in the 80s was, everybody was in there. There was a guy with Tourette's syndrome in there who would sit, he would yell like, fuck, and then like just get up and walk away, and nobody would pay him any attention. There was like neighborhood drunks like in Bermuda shorts and, just like sitting there and drinking by themselves. And there were students from the Maryland Institute College of Art. So you had this whole like art school thing, and you had
like beatniks and stuff.
Oh, you had like literally had beatniks, you had, gay people, you had 3 Marine officers. Like we would always show up too. Like we would wear like these like 1950s like black leather jackets. We must have looked like this fucking weird gang because we would come in, full of like,
like a some sort of like spoof of West Side Story, like guys coming in just like.
Well, I mean, again, because we had the Marine Corps strut, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
And the haircut.
And the haircuts, and we were just like, man, we would just come in there and just. I don't know. We respected everybody.
Yeah.
But you couldn't help but like draw attention to yourself.
Yeah, because it's definitely out of place.
But strangely, very much in place because the kind of place it is like anybody can go there. You could go by yourself and then it's all of a sudden it's 2:30 in the morning and you're in a basement in somebody's row house basement in Baltimore and you're like, no, I mean the thing, you're having this conference. You like the number of times that I woke up in that row house basement, complete pitch black, and there'd be like a little like patch of flame. Like, where the fuck am I? It was like a furnace, and I would just be like, oh right, I'm in this, I'm in somebody.
Ooh, yeah.
Ooh, and I check to see if there's anybody lying next to me. Okay, good. By myself. Wait, yeah, I got arm. Yeah, everything's still there. So when we would, and also too, it was kind of like where John Waters hung out. It was like his living room. So I'd been going there since I was a plebe at the Naval Academy. I had again, another Marine, classmate of mine, a guy named Mike Monroe, great guy. Plebe year, he's like, over Thanksgiving, he's like, I'm gonna take you to the Club Charles. I was like, fuck, this is amazing. So here it is, 4-5 years later, we went up there like every weekend. So we're like this like known quantity, the weird, possibly gay Marine officer gang. Because what other conclusion could they come to, right? Black leather jackets, like leather gays. Anyway, so I am
in the 80s. That makes more sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like when it meant something. Like now everybody says everything. Yeah. It's kind of boring. Anyway, so I literally
pick a lane.
What's that?
Pick a lane.
No, I know. It's great. It's like as we achieve sort of like all equality in the future, shit's gonna be really boring. There's gonna be nothing to rebel against. It's like when it became same-sex marriage became legal. Like I don't know, gay people are kind of boring now because they're just like, oh, I'm just like boring married guy or a boring married woman. It's like Yawnsville. It's so much. I think shit is so much cooler when it's like against the rules. Yeah, fuck you to authority. So I announced as we're driving up there on the very long drive up there, I'm like, how have we not seen John Waters at this place? This is obviously like the coolest place in Baltimore and like one of the coolest places in the world. As soon as we walk in, boom, there he is sitting on one of these banquettes.
Wow. You manifested John Waters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I made
willed it.
I made the lie come true.
That's right.
The Marine Corps taught me how to do that. And he looked like John Waters. He was wearing he looked like an Undertaker a little bit, had like a little suit and his little mustache.
Little pencil mustache.
And he's drinking vodka martinis. And so part of me goes like, oh, fuck. I ought to go over and say something to him. And then I was like, this is the internal dialogue. Yeah. I was like, oh, fuck that. Like, everybody's on this guy's dick, especially here in Baltimore at the club. Fuck it. Just go over and talk to him. So I peel off and I said, excuse me, Mr. Waters. I said, at the risk of sounding like a gushing idiot, I said, myself and my friends really love your books and your movies. And he looks at me and he goes, you don't sound like a gushing idiot at all. He's like, you want to sit down? Oh, sure I do. I was with him for the next 3 hours. I was drinking Natty Bows because that was my drink of choice back then. He was drinking vodka martinis. And he is the smartest, the coolest.
That's amazing.
He's a terrific human being. And I think back, he was, and again, too, like people are going like, oh, well, yeah, he was trying to fuck you or whatever. He was... To say that he was a gentleman, because that's just the guy that he is, he was just an absolutely great guy. I mean, obviously, too, like me at age 22 or whatever, certainly somebody says, hey, you should lie on the casting couch. You're a Marine officer. But he pitches me Crybaby. And now as a professional storyteller myself and as a filmmaker, the whole act of pitching, it's a little exhausting.
Yeah.
So here's clearly a guy who doesn't have any money. I'm a Marine second lieutenant or whatever the fuck I was.
Right.
No money. There's nothing to be gained from me. There's no casting couch. And he's pitching me Crybaby. And he goes, you know what? He goes, you'd be perfect for the film. He goes, you should at the end of the table was, she's now like a big casting person, Pat Moran. She did all the casting for The Wire and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
She's like a legendary casting person. She goes, make sure Pat has your information. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm just like this second lieutenant at basic school. And like 2 weeks later, I basically get this call and they're like, hey, we need you at the Maryland House of Corrections in Jessup, Maryland. And it's like a Friday. I'm like, I'm over.
Yeah, you're just down this way. Yeah.
And though I haven't, I'm in that sort of like, what was it? Casual company? What was that thing? Were they
Mike Company?
Yeah. Where you just kind of like exist.
Yeah.
So I'm going to admit to something here that the UCMJ has no.
Yeah, it's statute of limitations.
Yeah, it's run out. So basically, I show up there, and again, it's you, Vic, and I'm like, "Hey, Vic, I'm supposed to be at the Maryland House of Corrections shooting this film at like 11 a.m. I'm going to it, And I said, I don't think anybody gives a shit where I am, but if they do, like, if you saw me, but you don't know where I am. So I basically went UA to go shoot.
And take some notes now.
Yeah, you do that. You could use that as, oh shit, did I just admit that on a podcast? Oh, sorry, Chesty Puller. Chesty would have done the same thing. If Chesty really had something he really wanted to do, he would have done it. Like, fuck the rules. So that's what I did. That's what Chesty taught me. And Colonel Ripley. Colonel Ripley would have done the same thing. I wasn't letting anybody down. I wasn't doing shit. So I go up to the Maryland House of Corrections, and basically I'm an extra. And now have done a million things. And extras are kind of a pain in the ass. So they have this like extra speech, like, okay, everybody, standard extras thing. Don't talk to anybody. Don't touch anything. There's some snacks on this table. Like, go over there and we'll let you know. Brian, you're John's guest here today. He's thrilled that you're here. So when you see him on set, please say hello. I'm just like, wait, what? And like, I left that set that day. I was like 2 feet off the ground, like, walking on air. And I was like, this is fucking amazing. I was like high, totally intoxicated on it's. So if you've seen the movie Cry Baby, it's when they break Johnny Depp out of prison. There's the helicopter lands, Hatchet Face, and Darren Burroughs. He was in Northern Exposure. Ed in Northern Exposure. Yeah. He kind of disappeared. If you're out there, Darren, like,
I'm sure he's listening to us.
I'm sure. But they land the thing, and then there's like these like convicts that are in the yard lifting weights, and there's like these two giant black twins who like total muscle bound guys. Some other guy, then there's me. So I'm really easy to pick out because I'm like the guy that looks like the emaciated or like second lieutenant. And John Waters is like, well, whatever you guys do, don't look at the camera. Of course, I'm looking right at the camera and trying to maximize my screen time. They're like, because they're shooting, the guards are like, oh, it's escape. And they're shooting like, whoa. Anyway, so I saw John Waters 25 years later. They did a screening of Cry Baby at the cemetery in LA called Hollywood Forever. They do these screenings. They do a Day of the Dead thing there. They do all kinds of stuff there. It's right in Hollywood. And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go talk to him because obviously he remembers talking to this Marine lieutenant. And so I finally talked to him, and you know what? He did not remember talking to me. Man. I was like, God damn it. Fuck. Anyway, he was a great guy. But I told him, I said, you know what? I said, you're a great guy. And I said, I think about it all the time about what a good guy you were. And I said, I'm a writer now. I'm a film producer myself now. And I was like, you kind of gave me my start. So anyway, that's the John Waters story.
That's
so
pretty cool. I love it.
Well, we have taken up a ton of your time, but I do want to just spend a few moments.
Yes.
Just sort of, again, talking through the book. What so as we're going through in the Book of Surrender, it's out on the shelves now. Please buy multiple copies.
Absolutely. You can find it on, again, not like Jeff Bezos needs any more money.
Yeah.
But you can buy it very easily on Amazon. I would recommend you go to a local independent bookstore. If they probably won't have it on the shelf, but they'll
order it.
They'll order it or buy it at bookstore. Is it Bookshop or bookstore.org?
Well, there's a couple. You can also go Thrift Books.
Thrift Books, I think, is owned by Amazon.
Oh, is it now?
Anyway,
What
either
is
buy
it,
it,
really?
either
Yeah,
drink.
go to your. We have a Bard's Alley in my town. Bard's Alley is what it's called. It's just a local. Just find a bookstore.
Keep
or
them-
support your library.
Well, I prefer. Yeah, no, you need to go to your library and say, "Do you have Brian
Bud,
O'Hare's Surrender?"
exactly.
So they can buy it.
Yep.
Then you can get it. Like the LA Public Library has like 4 copies, and I mean, if like I always push like. I sold one at BWI yesterday after I got off the plane.
Oh, nice.
I sold one to a Marine over at Marsh, the Marsh building. He made the mistake of popping in and having a big personality. So I was basically just like, all right, Master Sergeant, why don't you shut the fuck up and buy the book?
But you have a website.
I do.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. BrianO'Hare.com. That's BrianO'Hare.com. And actually, there's a button you can buy the book from there, from Book Soup in LA, which is and I will sign it. Or you can send me a message. I always keep copies on hand, and I will sign it with any sort of curse word that you want in there of your choice, and I'll put it in the mail and send it to you. Even that service is $25. Like I said, it's cheaper than 2 beers in LA, and the hangover is a lot
easier to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot easier. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, this has been a really, we didn't even get to one of the main stories when it gets to, so I want to bring you back on so we can talk Serenity.
What a geek.
Oh, God, I got to. I mean, yeah.
He's so
I just
enthusiastic,
have to.
and his enthusiasm is.
I just have to.
It's a
catching.
little. I'm trying. Yeah, it is
I love
catchy.
it.
It's a little.
It's infectious, like a disease.
Like a disease, exactly.
Infectious, yeah.
Like
I don't feel that way.
You'll break out into something though. Be careful.
Yeah, whatever. It's like crabs, I think. Have you ever had crabs?
Fuck no. To eat?
No, not to eat. Anyway, I had it once at the Naval
We talked
Academy.
about David Foster Wallace, like consider the lobster.
Oh, the lobster.
That's close. Pretty close. This is close as I got, I think.
Whatever. Any of that was way better than the experience of having crabs.
I can imagine.
In uniform too, because you have to maintain. It's really itchy.
Holy sh!
Yeah, it's really itchy. And,
formation would be brutal.
Yeah, because you're just like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna scratch. I'm not. Oh, fuck! And it's generally, you're like,
I'm not gonna make it. I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah, and your fingers are into your genitalia region, and that doesn't go over well in formation.
No.
Or in a parade or something.
Really anywhere.
But it is
really anywhere, exactly, except for being,
I mean, just the life I've led.
Yeah.
That's just not really.
Well, you're a proper lady, Nancy Lickman. You are.
Oh yeah.
You are. You're a good Jewish girl from Florida,
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin.
Born in Wisconsin. Yeah.
I have a weird fantasy about Wisconsin. I have a strange sort of like upper Midwest kind of like alternate life. Like I really like Milwaukee, and I like
That's where I was born.
I love Milwaukee. I have a whole sort of like thing about like beer, brats, and bowling.
Yeah.
I love that shit. I could live in Milwaukee, but then I don't know. Then
But you wouldn't be in LA.
No, exactly. I love LA. Look,
Yeah.
it's even tattooed on my arm right there. I know you're like, oh, it doesn't look like LA, and like, but it's L. A.
Oh, I get it.
It's this guy. They call him the godfather of Cholo graffiti writing, Chaz Borruquez, and he's a legend in Los Angeles. I mean, his like high art.
Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing where he takes this very like basic kind of a thing, like the sort of like classic. I mean, down even San Clemente has like Latino gang writing and stuff. But he grew up in Highland Park neighborhood of L.A. and he sees this all the time, and it's kind of compelling looking. But then he turned it into like proper art.
Yeah.
And so like there's this one. Like, I've always been fascinated with this guy. Real quick. So when I was at the Naval Academy, I used to date this girl who lived in LA, and she was a painter. And she had this
Was this before or after the crabs?
Yeah.
She had nothing to do with the crabs.
Yeah.
She was amazing. But I think about it, like how, again, talk about trying to get away from these like very repressive structures.
Yeah.
So I had this girlfriend in Northeast Los Angeles, and she was like the consummate sort of like punk rock painter. Like her hands would always be spattered with paint, and she would smoke. And I mean, she was just like so fucking cool. And she had a pink 64 Thunderbird.
Nice.
Oh wow.
And so she would pick. So I would leave the Naval Academy. I planned it so I didn't have classes on Friday afternoon. I would just
Jump on
bolt.
a flight.
Yeah. And I would go to LA and she would pick me up, and the smell of LA, like this combination of this perfume of like jasmine and smog. And I would climb inside her it's a very, like every time I go back to LA, you go like, oh yeah, it's in like grilling meat. You know what I mean? Like carne asada.
Yeah.
So I would get in her Thunderbird, and the Thunderbird would always smell like leaded gasoline and carne asada because we would eat tacos in there. And then we would just like, I would just not be at the Naval Academy and go to like these like punk rock and dive bars on Hollywood.
Viper Room and shit like that.
Even like,
Go lower.
well, actually it was before that. Viper Room was 91, I think.
Is it? I
Yeah.
thought it was the 80s. Yeah, but maybe that's right. Maybe it's early 90s.
So we're talking Bob's Frolic Room, which is still,
I love the name.
and it's still there. It's the
I'm not edgy enough to even be in the same room with you.
You're so edgy.
Wait, where is this place though? Is it
It's-
in Hollywood?
Yeah, it's okay. The thing I love about Bob's Frolic Room, it's still like the Club Charles. It's unrepentant. You know what I mean? It's like gentrification is
Yeah.
fucking knocking everything that's even remotely interesting down. But still, the Club Charles is still there as it was in 1985 or whatever. Bob's Frolic Room, same thing. You walk in there in the best possible way. It's 1985.
Is this Sunset or
No, it's on
Melrose?
Hollywood. So basically, if we're looking at the intersection of like Vine and
Yeah.
Hollywood and Vine,
Okay, yeah.
so it's on the northeast side of the street. There's the
Okay.
Pantages Theater,
Yeah.
which is where the Broadway shows go.
Mhm.
It's literally right next to the Pantages Theater.
Okay.
And like Bukowski used to drink there, in the 60s and also too behind the bar they have a picture of, is it Alan Hale, who is the skipper on
Yeah.
Gilligan's
Yeah,
Island?
yeah.
It's this framed thing. It's like he used to get shit faced there too. So did Fred Mertz from I Love Lucy.
Oh, no way. Hilarious.
Okay, so I didn't go for a really long time. And so I started going again, I don't know, 15 years ago. And the bartender is really familiar. I'm like, how do I know this guy? Latino guy. And it's great too, because the thing that's great about that, the bartenders wear bow ties in like a dress shirt and like a vest. Because I guess once upon a time it was not shitty. It's really not shitty. It still has like a bit of
Yeah, it's character. It's got character.
It's got definite character, and that's just what they do there.
Yeah.
They wear a bow tie. And I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, you look so familiar. And I said, I used to come here. I said, probably started around 1987. And he's like, oh yeah, I was here. I was the bar back. Because there's only one bartender there. And because they used to have this bartender there who was like, he looked like a guy who probably from Milwaukee, he was, it's probably homecoming king, really fucking handsome, came out to be a movie star, ended up behind the bar
Yeah.
with a fucking,
That's
axe.
an unusual story that's never been told before.
Never been
right?
told
Never
ever.
happened.
It's either that he probably then went into porn after that, because that would be the other part of the story.
Just went over the hill and
No, exactly, to Van Nuys.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so like the guy was like, oh yeah, that was Mike or something like that. He goes, yeah, I was his bar back. And so now here it is in 2025, and the guy is at the helm of Bob's Frolic Room. And he's a fucking terrific bartender. He puts up with no nonsense. So I mean, like, whatever. It's crazy, it's edgy. Like, not really. Like if you act up in there, like bad things will happen to you
If you mind your own, you're good to go.
Oh, totally. They used to set the bar on fire too. So that first night that I went with with Angela, this punk rock painter, there was a guy who was passed out on the bar, and this would-be movie star guy goes, he's like, okay, quiet, everybody, quiet. So then he takes lighter fluid and he brings it all the way down the bar around the drunk where he's sleeping. And then he's basically like, everybody's like, oh, it's gonna be hilarious. He takes a match and he just drops it on the bar. So the flames go around the guy, whoa, and everybody's like, ah! And then somebody pulled a gun, and then the place cleared out.
As one
Yeah.
want to do in
Yeah,
Los
yeah, yeah.
Angeles, for sure.
Wow.
Well, Brian, man, this has been amazing. I can sit here and listen to your stories all damn day. I do really want to bring you back, though, for
I
sure.
want to come back. It'll give me a good excuse to
Great.
come back to the East Coast.
Yeah, I want to hear about your guys' your premiere. I want to hear about
No,
the game.
it's a screening.
I mean, the screening.
The screening. It's
Sorry.
a screening.
I don't do words. So yeah,
Clearly.
yeah. To the screening, I want to hear about the game. And I want to talk Serenity. So let's bring you
Absolutely.
back.
And I'm sure there'll be more shenanigans happening too by then that I can report on.
Yeah.
And I'm writing another book right now, a novel now.
Oh, nice.
About an Air Force remotely piloted aircraft pilot, a drone pilot. Sort of a loose retelling of the Iliad through the
Oh, how interesting.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
through the eyes of an RPA pilot, a Reaper pilot.
So you'll keep us posted.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's definitely stay in touch. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me.
Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Lichman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.